you were talking about Instagram not being a great streaming platform, or not a lot of feedback or whatever
What do you,
Not a lot of it. Participation.
interaction.
I just think it's just a very transient place, you know. But good morning, everybody. Welcome to episode 175, Making Turbo. Guest host with the most, Alex
With the
Trubin.
most.
Um, and we're all a little on the like low down feeling today.
Not me. I'm not. I'm hyped and
shit.
I'm ready to
Okay.
go. I'm hyped. I'm fired. I'm fired.
I retract my statement.
Yeah, what are you telling the viewers that for?
Oh no, I'm just saying we're going to be very chill today. I was going to say we're going to be very chill today.
No,
I retract the
the
statement.
I'm the complete antithesis of chill. I'm ready to. After the week we've had in censorship, I'm ready to go, and I'm just ready.
Awesome.
So,
All right.
folks, this is Making Turbo Pit Fighter. This is a weekly split screen, usually drawing stream, making a post-apocalyptic comic book. It's called Turbo Pit Fighter. This is the teaser that's available now, but we're making a 28 page plus covers, number one, and we're about halfway done with the camera ready, but we're still working on the second half, inks and pencils, and we're going to be doing some zine stuff too. In the meantime, we're completing a zine anthology, and it's going to be about the prequel world. So it's going to be called the Doom Magazines number one, the End of the World anthology, and we have on with us one of the contributors. We got Alex Trubin, and he says he's raring to go. He says he's fired up. So, Alex, why don't you play a little show and tell, and give us the extent of how you're doing and what you've brought to show.
Well, I'm not really that far into. I printed out your scripts and stuff, and I'm not super far as doing the actual work. I've been completing other projects, and so that's where I'm at with that. But I'm kind of like, I don't know where I heard it. I think it was Walter Simonson was talking about his process, which is like gathering together all of his materials and then kind of puttering away, and then when it's actually crunch time, deadline time, it's like hammer stuff away. That's kind of how I am. Like I'm late on the random access this month, so I was hammering that away in the last couple days, really coloring stuff. But I do have some pages, some more pages. I mean, if people saw the first page there, there's just the thing about it is the process. It's so unusual because like I've been watching you guys do the lettering for Ken Landgraf, his stuff that he was doing for you guys, and it's so uh, not unusual. It's cool to experience the process of collaboration, and like you guys like to do things a certain way, and um, I like to do things a certain way, and it just trying to mix things together. So I'm like trying to get as much information in the panels or in the pages that you guys prefer or like to do, but also kind of put a little bit of my own spin on things, which I think, do you find that Ken did that as well?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he definitely did what he felt was in his wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I mean, because you're trying to. It's almost like translating, maybe not a different language, but it's definitely translating like your script into something that you can image. You can image out as your own thing. So it's definitely it's a work in progress, especially this page 4 where you have like it seems like 15 things, different things going on in this one panel. So just trying to, put it all together in the way that you envisioned it, because that's what I'm trying to do as the artist. I'm trying to, translate your vision as the writer.
Well, that happens every day between a script writer and an
Right,
artist. And,
right.
you make the arrangement based on the samples, and then you get back what you get back, and you sometimes do a little bit of after the fact editing with the dialogue. I'm actually going over some of Ken's art to put in some extra backgrounds and some gray tones, and I'll be doing that today. I just wanted to show a couple things to you and Kurt first. But do you want to go through your pages, or do you want us to do a different segment?
Let's go through my pages. Well, no, like you guys have seen the first 3 pages pretty much. And so we know what we have there. And but what do you think of this specifically? Like I was thinking the introduction of DeHuberden. Can you see my pages?
Yep.
Yes.
Like I like to introduce a character kind of like slowly where they'll, maybe they'll first be in shadow or something like that. So I had this, which is what you had in the script, where it shows like a little piece of his head, a piece of his face. And then I was going to have this all in shadow, all darkened out, and then kind of him pointing the gun, and then have the big reveal of the detuber in here, and then his head exploding. I've never drawn a head exploding. It is far harder than you would think.
Well, I have some heads exploding, and I just think of Scanners or Night of
Yeah,
the Living
yeah.
Dead when I think they used watermelons behind the scene, like small
Well,
watermelons, and they.
right. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have to choose what you want to add in, what kind of details. Like, I have eyes and teeth and a nose, kind of. But I mean, I could have just had like an explosion, But it's the amount of details that I think that you want to add in to it.
Well, from here it looks great what you're putting on the page. When we get all the art in, we'll have to take a look. I got the script is online at hellclaw.com/dupe.
Yep. Yeah, I have the
Scroll
I have the whole
scroll there.
script here.
So
Actually, starting on
I'm
page
sure,
3.
I'm sure it's going to be pretty faithful to the script. And one problem that we're having with the Ken Landgraf is like fitting in the dialogue balloons. I thought he was
Yeah.
leaving enough room, but some of my panels are a little wordier than I thought,
Yeah.
and so I'm having to cut down those words, pretty often.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other thing is like word balloons sometimes cover really nice art too, so you're losing like some
Yeah.
detail here and there. Nothing you can do
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
But the
Ye-
original art is for sale, I guess, later on and on its own, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's an 11-page script.
Oh, it is 11. I only have until 10, I believe.
Well, it's a 10-page script, but you put in an extra page, so it's an 11-page story, I should say. And
Well, wait. I have page 10. Yeah, I only have till page 10.
right, so the extra page that you put in is not on the script.
Okay. All right.
So you just keep going page after
Okay.
page. And if you want me to renumber the pages on the script,
Nah.
I can do that. I just need to know where your extra page goes in.
No. That's okay. That's
Okay.
fine. It'll just be like it'll just be in there.
Yeah. So looks good. You're doing those drawings at what is that, like 8.5, 11 size? It looks like.
These are no, these are 10 by something, 10 by 15.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
So
they're
it's
small.
smaller than regular
Definitely.
comic book size, but not quite 8.5 by 11. So
Right.
that's
Definitely.
the what's that?
Yeah. I use these. I use these comic boards. So these are like they have to be shot down to 67% to print. But I wanted to show you a sketch that I made because you know how we're thinking about that automaton at the end where the Duke comes in, guns ablazing to attack
Yeah,
the
yeah,
dehuman headquarters.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a big like frontal attack in a big city block area of a fortified headquarters. So here's what I came up with. I might have to just show it to you in pieces because my camera isn't like tall enough. Maybe I can. I think I can change the angle on this to get some height. But um, I was just sketching the other day, and I said, let me design something. Maybe it'll give Alex some direction, or maybe he'll think about some other kind of design. But um,
What page is that
should be
start
like
on?
the last page. It's like digging. Let's see, on page 9 on the script, it's digging itself out of the dirt. No wait, yeah, at the end of page 9, it says a giant shot of the disruptor or the distraction emerged from its sandy, crumbly hiding hole in the shadow of the big city, and in the distance we see the D. Huberton HQ tower. So there's first a small panel with some sand rustling out of the way and a shape protruding from the ground. Then
Right,
whatever that shape is, I want to leave
right.
this to you to be the ultimate decider because
Yeah.
however
No,
however
that's awesome.
um so then panel 3 there's a giant shot of the disruptor, right? So page 9 it's introduced. On panel 4 there's a close-up shot of the cockpit in the distraction mechanism where it's clearly the Duke manning the controls. um we may or may not know yet, but it's actually an automaton of the Duke, like a 3D wax figure that moves or whatever. And then on page 10, um, we switch back to Duke in the tunnels for one panel, and he's realizing that the Mink's little sister is being held at gunpoint by one of the De Huberton matrons, and she knows that the Mink is back home with the Duke, and so she's going to put a gun to her head so Duke can let her know that she's about to lose her little sister if she doesn't do A, B, and C. And then yeah, so there's just one panel of that up in the corner, I guess, or at the top, and then the big rest of the page for the last page. It says the distraction is coming through the canyon of skyscrapers toward the De Huberton HQ tower in the most central downtown location of the big city. There are security vehicles on the ground with flashing lights and motorcycles engaging in firefights around the streets. Of course, motorcycles mean um, ground motorcycles and air motorcycles. The Duke is seen in the cockpit with his arm in the air, defiant. As usual, many drones fly around. So I have those. And my drone design, I think, my main drone design is going to be like this, like diamond shaped flying thing with a pointed nose, and it's got these like two bars that hang down so they can like land.
Can I can't see the top. Can you pull it down a little bit more?
Oh sure, yeah. So
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
right, so here's what I sketched out. So there's got to be like some compartment where the Duke
Yep.
can be seen,
Yep.
and so I had it where there's guns, the big turrets in every direction, here, here, and then these holes are also launchers for
Yeah.
smart bombs or firing whatever, and they also go up and down on these little like lines. They're on these little like cords. Then here we have the big cannon,
Hmm.
so that if it bends over, I guess it'll have to bend over. I should have made it more like this. Maybe I can still do that. But anyway, I'm just playing with the design. Here it's got these big legs, and I was thinking about the War of the Worlds for these big
Yeah.
legs, but then it also has these like pointy stabilizer legs. So whatever situation it gets into, it can always like retain its balance, and it can move these pointer things around to like stab something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know if this is confusing, but this is like background, and this is gonna be like the structures of the future, where they're like big building columns that have like these little walkways in between.
Yeah.
But we don't see the Deherberton Tower yet. There's a smoke and fire here, and then here there's some little like ground assault vehicles that follow along. I guess on wheels. So this was just a first stab I had at the automaton. But
Yeah. It looks a little bug-like. Is that something
yeah,
you'd want to go for?
yeah, it looks kind of like up here. It looks a little bit caterpillar.
Yeah.
I was just starting to draw.
Grasshopper.
I was just starting to draw it, and I was worrying just about the functionality of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Like here, this is a big like aperture, like on a
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
So this could open up, and this could launch flying vehicles
Yeah.
or missiles. And then down here, if you notice, there's this like extended telescoping chute, and out of there comes actual guys on on ground motorcycles that can scatter and disperse. So
Yeah.
I didn't really shade this in or really block this in yet. I don't know. I wanted your feedback on it, but this could be a fun conceptual art
Yeah.
design for
Yeah. The cockpit could totally just be a monitor, like the dome in Las Vegas.
Right. Well,
So
yeah, I
so
had it.
it could be completely video or
It could be wraparound video, like an
yeah.
LED. Um, I was thinking to make it like a little chamber where there's like an automaton in there, so it looks a little more
Right,
realistic.
right. But what I'm saying is the video could be of him in there.
Well, I figured that
You
in
know
the
what I'm saying?
future, in the future, you have a lot of people you know, with telephoto camera capability,
Oh yeah,
and
that's
they'll
true.
zoom in real close.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And it's okay that people see that it's not the real Duke.
Yeah.
It's be like, oh, like maybe if they do have a high res camera looking in, they'll say, oh, it's just a wax automaton that has limited moves. That's okay because the whole thing is just a distraction. He's meant to die. It's meant to be destroyed. It's gonna blow in the next
Could it
script. It'll blow
could
up in
it
a.
be could it be his other brother? He's got two brothers, right?
Yeah, no, you don't want to sacrifice a real person in there because the whole thing is a suicide mission. It's just only meant to be a distraction, and the
Right.
whole thing is gonna just do as much damage to the
Right.
dehuman headquarter building as it can, but ultimately it won't be able to
But what
survive.
but why not sacrifice him?
Why not sacrifice the brother? Well,
Yeah.
to fight on another day. He's on the line with the Duke. You mean that one brother Renzo? He's on the line.
The one the brother dies in the beginning or like the flashback and on the
Yeah.
motorcycles. But like yeah, I mean why not have the brother sacrifice himself for the cause?
Because we're using an automaton to preserve the brother's life.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a thought. I'm just thinking like, who doesn't love Optimus Prime sacrificing himself in the Transformers movie? You know what I'm saying? It like becomes a
Now
super
you're going
impactful
back to
thing.
the Gundams. That's that you know more about it than me, but yeah, I mean everybody's going to eventually be sacrificed. You know, it's going to be a Shakespearean tragedy by the end.
Yeah.
But in the next you know, after we finish this, we'll have to have a sit down and, you know, discuss, do we want the continuation to be, you know, the final episode where everybody dies one by one, you know, in the Duke's little, you know, slice of the story.
Right.
Um, or do you want to just, you know, make another, you know, section like 6 pages, 10 pages, whatever, and then keep it going, you know? So we'll have to talk about that. So
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff, like with Three's Company when Suzanne Summers didn't sign up for a contract renewal.
Yeah.
We and then they had to like bring in the other character. So we will discuss all the above. But I was just thinking about, you know, I really just designed this with functionality in mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, all
That's how I always go about designing things like that. I always think of what it's supposed to do first and how it's supposed to do it.
so I wanted to show you that. What else is in this pad? I think I have something for Kurt to see in this pad before I put this pad away. Um, this is just a colorful face I made. Because I know Kurt wants to show off his life drawing. Oh, here. So
Yeah.
I did some sketching, Kurt. I know it's been a while since the move. Um, Here is a sketch I made of the casualties all together. So you got Prometa, Hellclaw, and in the middle, and she's got her fiery claws. And Esoterra, I didn't quite finish, but I just made like this kind of like horizontal pin of the casualties. I don't know what for, maybe a zine page or something. Um,
Esoterra looks very Native American. Is that what the kind of vibe you're going for?
yeah, yeah, that face tattoo design is an actual Native American design. Here I made a character to be named later, I guess, and I think I did a turbo sketch here somewhere too that we'll have to find a purpose for. But yeah, after this, Kurt should tell us about his show and tell portion, so that I can switch over to the lettering. I'll get that all over. Oh, here I just did like a turbo sketch here. It's not quite finished. The face isn't done. But oh, it's right next to this other sketch. And I think that was all I did. This was all sketching yesterday. I actually had some time to sit down and do some sketching. My wife
Yeah.
was watching The Mayor of Kingstown on
Oh
Netflix.
yeah. Yeah.
So
We watched a little bit of that. So at some point too, I do want to talk about Esoterra and how far I can go with what I want to do with the gods thing.
well, it depends how much you want it to tie in, you know, accurately.
Right,
I
right.
have this pin of
Do you have a history for her?
yes. There's a if you go to hellclaw.com/esoterra, everything that I've written so far is on there, and some of it is kind of like notes, and some of it is like, you know, the beginning of some sequences. But
Okay.
we start from Esoterra's birth, and that was already posted on the Substack, and it should all be
All
on the
right.
page.
All right. I don't think that would fit in with what I was thinking.
Right. Well, you can make it the version of your world.
Because what I have in mind is because my character Morgrim is going to like this is in the world that is Morgrim is like right after the Ice Age, and really there's a whole society or a whole realm. It's like a sword and sorcery realm that is really controlled by the old gods, and there's like temples all around the world, and but the old gods have a very direct influence and actions on humanity. Like they will, just snuff out a person just for the fun of it, and so they um, they're kind of imprisoning all of the old gods into like another like phantom zone or whatever. But my plan was that because after the old gods, there's the new gods, and I was going to have Esoterra be one of the old gods, and her daughter was going to be Durana, who is one of the new gods, and I was going to have Esoterra because they do have that the symbol, the eye symbol, which is actually Morgrim's because he's a Cyclops. That's his eye. Um, but I was going to have Esoterra kind of sacrifice herself and be imprisoned along with the other old gods, and then have Durana and the new gods come along and kind of come into the world, which they're also dragons. But and then the second part would be when the old gods are released into the world, and that's where Esoteric could come back in modern times. But if that conflicts with what you have, then that doesn't really work.
Well, the short version of Esoterra in this world, the end of the world timeline, is that she was born with gifts um, ever since she was a baby, and the picture that Kurt was just drawing before was Shrankra Vaisha. She was she was the unseen hand that guided the baby to scientists who would raise her because she was born to a crackhead. And
What time period is this?
Esoteric will be born in 2059.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Um, and her daughter will be Elevena. And so Esoterra is like the first human with the ability to harness matter and energy, just by will, without any kind of like scientific tools or weapons or anything. She can just, like imagine like Marvel Girl or Jean Grey or something like that. But
Right. Yeah.
she can control it, and um, so she is studied when she's young and if she's a teenager, and in college they pair her up with a professor that tries to make scientific explanations for what she's able to do, and it is her life's journey to try to duplicate what she can do just by thinking and just by willing it, to be able to do that, and make other humans in her image, and nobody's able to do that. Um, so she engineers her own daughter, a test tube baby, Elevena, who will be the smartest person in history by design, and or just a very smart person, let's say. And she's able to, even at a young age, baby Elevena, synthesize the formula for enhancing humans, and then she makes a super squadron of females, like five that are close to her, and those that will become the team called the Rectifiers. But Esoterra will have her own adventures while she's in her youth, and that'll be called the Casualties. That's this 6 pager that Ken Landgraf did, and here's Esoterra, her premiere. Other than the 2 pager that we did for you, this is the premiere 6 page action story. So here, Esoterra is going to hop in the scene. she's going to touch Charvel, and she's going to imbue her powers to realize her own potential, because there's a lot of other humans that have the ability to to have powers on the way of being Esoterra's powers, but they're all limited compared to hers. Like, she's the 100% on the scale, and everybody else, including this bad guy, this is Bruno Moroder, he has like maybe like 20% of the power that Esoterra has, and he's learning how to use it too. But all he can do is like parlor tricks, like making a fireball appear and knocking something out of somebody's hand. Esoterra can make herself float, and she could change the air into gas, and she could literally just pop a blood vessel in anybody's head and kill them. So she can really manipulate matter and energy, and Esoterra is, trying to find the glowers before Dr. Bruno and Bianca Moroder, because they're trying to find the glowers in order to kidnap them and use them as brood mares, and kind of extend his seed into the next generation, hoping that they'll have more of a percentage of Esoterra's powers. So Esoterra will have, a whole life cycle. When she's young, she'll be in that super team, the Casualties, with Chromita and Hellclaw, trying to find the glowers and rescue them. That'll be their mission. And then when she's older in life, she'll kind of go into exile for a long time. When Elevena is young, she'll still be alive, but she goes into exile because she realizes that not only can people steal her DNA if she makes any kind of public appearance to analyze it and replicate it, but they can also analyze her DNA from afar using other different like sensitive tools and stuff. So she goes completely into exile, and the stuff that she's doing we'll find out about later. She's still spending her time on worthwhile causes, but um, we don't really know how she'll die. I was thinking, it'll be a massive battle against the Dehubertons or something, but
Elevena or
Elevena,
Esoterra?
both.
Yeah.
Elevena will have her arch rival will be the unbeknownst one when he's young, and she will have to surrender in order to spare the like 17 states worth of resistance zones from being annihilated by the poisonous gas that the Dehubertans used to wipe out most major cities during the megapocalypse. And so she prevents that from happening to the remaining cities, in the resistance, by surrendering and making a deal. And she goes into prison, where she's closely monitored, and they try to extract scientific principles out of her. But remember, that's Elevena, the daughter, and
Right.
Esoterra is the mother. She's the one that could just do it naturally. Elevena is the one that's converting it all into scientific principles so that it can be explained and it can be replicated in a lab.
So would you say Elevena is no, Esoterra is she's not really a god, she's just like a super person, like Superman?
So right, well, that's some of the reaction to it this becoming public and her becoming a public figure is, clearly some people think she is a god, and
Right.
there's a whole line of esoteric devotees. Like, we have a 6-pager for Wee Lu, who is an esoteric devotee. She spends her whole life studying esoteric and training herself to make her powers operational, and she does just at the last sequence of her 6-pager to like save her life. But there's going to be other people that treat esoteric like a superhero,
Right.
and they go out on the street and they wear capes, and they purport to do like good things in the name of society, but they're really all charlatans just trying to do like reality shows and get followings. And they don't, they might have limited powers, if at all. Most of them is just tricks AI trick photography and posting stuff that isn't real, or else maybe they have some limited ability to do something. But there's going to be a whole you know category of people in all cities and towns that consider themselves superheroes, saviors in the mold of esoteric, and they all claim, oh, I've got like 40% esoteric, oh, I've got like 60%, and it's all bullshit.
Right.
So
that's
yeah,
cool.
so
That's interesting stuff.
yeah, so that's what I had planned.
I love that Ken Landgraf face right there.
Yeah, so I have to open up photos. So this is where I left off. This is page 4 of 6, and I kind of worked the background that I put in like these tones in here. So when we left off, I was just putting in these kind of like quantum artifacts around her hand, and then I was gonna maybe design in some more gray around here to make this splashy. So I'm gonna open up Photoshop now and open up that linked file, and I'll worry about the word balloons after.
Yeah.
I used to be able to hit edit original and it would launch Photoshop. Not anymore. So yeah, that's where we're at with the Ken Landgraf. We'll be done with this in a couple of weeks. And then turn our attention to the zine pages. So we still have a lot to do, and we're shooting for a publication of the entire zine by the end of this calendar year.
Yeah,
So
I'll definitely be done that. I'm shooting for next month to be done with this.
End of the month,
My pages.
Alex?
No,
So end of October?
End of October. Yeah.
End of October. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm not sure because October is going to be pretty busy. Can I talk about that?
Yes, please.
Because what I'm doing in Random Access, I assume that you guys have been following the Jimmy Kimmel fiasco.
can't
And
avoid it.
What's that?
Can't avoid it. Disney lost
No.
like $3 billion.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole, like, this harkens me back to censorship in comics, and we're next. They're starting with the FCC, and the simple fact that the head of the FCC intervened and said to do this thing, or you guys are going to suffer, is just unconscionable to me, and it really is the worst thing that could happen to creatives ever, anywhere. And it's headed for communism. It's headed towards not good communism either, not like everybody shares communism. That there's the real communism, and then there's the the Nazi communism.
Yeah, I think you mean authoritarianism, because communism, in theory, that you share the wealth of the rich. So it's
right. But there's theory communism, and then there's what's happened in communism. So, but you're 100% right. Just like there's theory capitalism, and there's in practice capitalism.
Yeah, well, all of the theories have theory versus practice, and I've been arguing lately to people that show me an example of a nation that's actually practiced Marxism, and they can't do it. And so there's a conflation of the word communism with what we have had in reality, which is like Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot and arguably Castro and Venezuela, but they haven't been sharing the wealth of the rich. They've been taking the wealth. So we have to use another word, and it's not communism. It's just fake communism, and they use the word as a propaganda tool to try to make it sound good, but really it's propaganda, and they're brutal dictators. So the word I think we're looking for is authoritarianism, or maybe even fascism.
Right, which is where we're headed when you have the head of the FCC telling a TV station, do what I want, or there's going to be serious consequences. That's literally what he said, and it's just so hypocritical because, years before he was like, the government has no place in any kind of telling people what, freedom of speech, or like just freedom of speech is being completely attacked. And I think, we can't do anything about it. We're
Something that
not.
Charlie Kirk stood for, ironically.
Right. Something he stood for. And they're just twisting it, and it's just the most horrible thing that I can think of. And there's nothing I can do about it other than I'm going to be doing an Inktober special for Random Access, and I'm going to have a series of prompts, and they're going to be like FCC, freedom of speech, censorship, that kind of thing. And I'm going to have special. I'm going to print anybody that does any Inktober stuff in Random Access. So I'm going to try to get as many people as I can, because I really don't think, especially in comic books, I don't think people have really grasped the situation of how bad that is, how bad it is.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, there are definitely, comics out of Trump and making fun of him, and there's a lot of, I guess, like metaphors that are used. But there's some comics that just, come out, and it's like, you can buy a comic called "Trump is a Clown" or whatever, and so yeah, they might start going after that. I think it's not on their radar because it's too niche. But if it's only a
That's
matter.
what you say. That's what you say. No, you can't think like that at all, because they have come for comic books. I mean, that's what the whole Comics Code Authority was created for. I mean, that was a governmental interference and governmental censorship of comic books, and that's what set comic books back, 50 years, 100 years almost. So it's not like to say that we're not on their radar is the same as that old saying where they came for, the Polish people, and then they came for, the Jews, and then they came for me, and I was the last one standing. That's exactly the same thing. We're all
Yeah, I
part
mean,
of media and freedom of
well,
speech.
I think what a lot of people are doing, like for example, let's take some crazy example, like old ladies that crochet banners against Trump or whatever. The you know the They're just hastening. Like if they make something that says anything about Charlie Kirk, Jimmy Kimmel, whatever, they're just hastening the time, the turnaround time, where they do become central in the debate that's happening. So I mean, yeah, you're right that it's only a matter of time before they come for everybody. But there are some people that are saying, here I am, come for me right now. Like they think, they want to step into the breach and hasten the conflict. I'd rather do this now than later, right? Because if we all stand together, then make it
Yeah,
harder
yeah.
for them, right? That kind of
Yeah,
feeling.
definitely. I mean, there's a whole subsection of comics by the LGBTQ society, people, and they're going to go for them. They're going to be the first ones that the anti-free for speech, the FCC, the whatever organization they create, they're going to be the first ones that they go after. But then it's just a matter of time before they come after everything.
Yeah, we're looking at some bold moves being taken right now by Project
Yeah, but
2025.
if I could just interject,
Yeah, please.
because you know, I I have such a hard time kind of framing my thoughts, especially when they become so. There's such a political now charge, and the only way I could say this is that you know we would truly go back to being underground. In other
Yeah, yeah,
words, my thing is I really don't need society's approval to be creative. And I'm saying this, Alex, just completely outside on my POV for being an artist, not what's
yeah,
going on
yeah.
in today. Because I went through 4 years of art school, and you want to talk about supercharged like stuff that were
Mhm.
my classmates were constantly trying to drag me into. I would always kind of come back around to this like, well, let them burn the whole thing fucking down. And if I'm still standing, I could still make my comics and they would be truly underground. The thing I want to applaud you on is to get comic book India, is the quickest reach to, sort of communicate through their art. Our job as visual artists is to do exactly that, is to make the imagery that then people receive and then people deal with. I'm not a big talker in the way of actually, I get very anxious, more anxious than ever when I have to explain my point of view on what contemporarily is happening with any kind of topic, because I'm a completely visually driven person. All I see in my head are these images. So if I can translate what's in my head, and this is something I don't place completely on Jake, but I do rely on him in the multi-faceted. He's the writer pushing the narrative and he's penciling the pages, but he's also counting on me to be that wall, to bounce the ball off of, and then hear the either echo or a response other than, in order to kind of keep pivoting the story in the best place that it can be. So, I think the real fascinating thing that we're experiencing right now, and I say it over and over again, it probably gives me the most anxiety when I sit down to make art, is the world is a comic book. It's an MCU, DCU universe driven, media driven. It completely can suck you in for hours, days, weeks, in your entire life. I just ask people, please be mindful of your state of mind. If things aren't quite right in your head, or the feelings that you have, don't feel like you're out on your own. Just have like a conversation with somebody to just try to let things out of your head. Because if I was to ever make a political social statement and stick by it for the rest of my life, it's about mental health. And if you really want to take freedoms away from people, then make them mentally ill and dependent on medications and really bad diets and all these types of things, where we as an entity are free within our minds, and our minds have got to be healthy. And there's many different ways to go about getting to having and maintaining a healthy mind. And to really end my little spiel on the Corky, making comics for me, and especially with Jake and the individuals who are contributing and collaborating with me on Crom, is really where we can take a fortification and be healthy in reaction and moving forward. So,
Right. But
I think what Kurt's trying to say there, at least from my reading, is like I used to get very, very stressed out about what's happening in real time, and I use sci-fi as an outlet. Okay, we can talk about the De Huberman family and their fascist oligarchs, and they're changing society and all that, and you kind of like you use today's headlines to inform that, and we talk about that all the time. Every episode we have was some update about drone wars or whatever, and Kurt is just like you got to have an outlet. You got to think about your own wellness. If you start like losing sleep, or if you start like grinding your teeth or whatever, it's not going to help anyone. So
right. I'm not really understanding though how that correlates to freedom of speech and the fact that this can all be taken away. Like you guys have nudity in your turbo pit fighter, and the police could easily come to you and throw you in jail. that sounds far-fetched. It sounds far-fetched, but it could certainly happen. You know,
Well, I live in New
then it's
York.
not. Then it's no longer
NYPD has
a feeling of your mental wellness. It's a feeling of you can't create, or there will be consequences.
so in the past, what's happened? There was a right wing, kind of like a very authoritarian and very censorship minded, um, couple of arrests made, and that fell down to, like, some U.S. attorneys in some area. I think it was like, North Carolina or something, and they took some of Danzig's comics.
Yeah, yeah,
They arrested a shopkeeper
yeah,
for
yeah,
selling Danzig's comics to an undercover. There was like some crazy, storyline where this girl was kidnapped and it was really abused by this character, and there was no moral ending. It was just like, really dark, storytelling and all that, and they deemed this, obscene, and it as far as I heard, they never touched the publisher at all. It was just the store, the
yeah,
person selling it
yeah,
that got,
yeah,
because that sends a message. Instead of going after somebody who can lawyer up, they just get some helpless, shopkeeper who's,
yeah.
is going hand to mouth, and so that has happened, back in the days of erotic comics,
That
where
wasn't that long ago. That happened multiple times in the 80s and 90s. There were shipments of comics coming from Canada that were printed in Canada that were taken by the law, I guess. I mean, that's the whole reason they created the comics legal fund,
yeah,
was to help the
probably.
shopkeepers and these indie artists and stuff to be able to combat this. And it's not really a left wing or right wing thing, because you've got Tipper Gore, who was a liberal, supposedly a liberal, and she was, right there on the head of, leading the
What
charge
about the
to censor.
children? What
Right,
about the
right,
children?
right.
Oh,
To
Well,
censor
when I was
censorship.
talking about art school, and all my friends, this is exactly what was going on in 1988 to 1992 in America,
Yeah,
which was the obscenity law. Now, to my point, I did not go out and do all the protesting and the picketing and the sense and me going to the meetings and everything that, and won't ever, because I actually went in. My work became obscene. That's what I
yeah,
worked out for 4 years, and in some ways it led me to meet Jake, and that'll be a story that'll come down the road at another date. But the idea for me is, I understand we've got to get people aware of the situation right here and right now. But Alex, I really have to be honest with you. The major thing we are up against is millimicro attention spans.
yeah,
I will
yeah,
I will
definitely.
guarantee you. 7 days from now, we will be in a whole nother system of shit that needs to be discussed openly, and so on and so forth. But I keep bringing it back to the same point: is how is it truly reacting? How are you truly reacting to it as an artist? And it sounds
Right.
like that's what your Inktober is really all about. So,
Yeah.
you want to give some information on how people can get to you and join you in this Inktober?
Well, I'll be, because it's not even October yet. So I'm going to be
Close.
I'm going to be creating Instagram posts with all of the prompts, because I'm going to have all of the prompts, and I mean, hopefully it just That's what I'm thinking, is that it just needs attention, because you have to nip this kind of stuff in the butt. I mean, and like I said, it's not a left or right. It's Cruz is on the side of freedom of speech. Ted Cruz, and I hate Ted Cruz. I hate the fact that he's, allied with him on this point. But really, if you're a creative person, you should be thinking freedom of speech no matter what. And you know, I just don't see how anybody creative can be against freedom of speech.
Well,
But
the ultimate. I'm sorry, just to interrupt. The ultimate
no,
in defending your freedom of speech is to go to court. That in my opinion also is make something that takes you to court, find
right,
it, and get a verdict that you win. Because if you win a verdict in court, which is based on what our country basically maneuvers above,
yeah,
or on
yeah,
top of, is to have that in an open public court, no matter whether it's within your city, your state, your federal government, but you have to win that. And that's
yeah, yeah,
where that is where the
yeah,
true fight that all of this in. For me, it's not going to be in just kind of hyperbolically keeping the narrative up and moving. It's literally make some art that really pisses people off. Maybe even your friends, maybe in your family, because that's what happened to me in the 90s. People were like, "Holy shit, what the hell are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, why would you do this? Well, it's obscene, right? Is it? I don't know. If you don't care,
right, yeah,
keep moving on with your life. You know what I mean? That to me defines an artist in no matter what the time frame is and everything. But I'm sorry that I interjected like that. But
no, that's perfectly cool. I'm just thinking, like I said, I was thinking I can't do anything. I'm like you. I'm not really a protester. Like I was really borderline on going to the No Kings protest, and I didn't. I'm not entirely sure how much, like you, I'm not entirely sure how much effect they have on things. But just getting people aware of the situation, so that when something does happen, that can be invaluable as well. I think get people involved.
It's so hard nowadays to not know what's going on, and it's all because of because of our magical phones.
It really is.
So the speed at which things go, every time you pick it up, there's a new assault on democracy, constitution, norms, civil rights, due process. The courts might still be one of the last bastions of sanity, but they're appointing all kinds of judges, and they're also jurisdiction shopping, if you know what that is, so that you can get a particular judge or particular court. You can really get sucked down a rabbit hole just talking politics in general, as opposed to just the mechanics of what the comic industry needs. Which is creative freedom, free speech rights. But besides that, you have the marketplace, which means gatekeepers, and like Amazon might all of a sudden stop carrying certain books and certain videos.
Exactly, definitely.
But this is not new. They've been struggling with this with China. They've been struggling with this with lots of different countries and repressive regimes. What might be a little new is that it's here now in the U.S. It's actually a concern that content creators of all kinds need to be worried about, and I think Alex is just bringing up the issue on our podcast, because how is this going to affect us, and what can we do to play our part in just adding strength to numbers in opposition to this. So and just to timestamp this, if folks are listening to this many years in the future, this was the week that ABC took Jimmy Kimmel off the air because he said something pretty benign about Charlie Kirk, and just kind of like the usual back and forth, left and right politics that we had on our TVs every single day for decades. No different from anything, that either side has been doing. But all of a sudden, um, the FCC chair, threatened him on the air that if ABC and Disney doesn't take him off the air, that we're going to do some kind of, you know, like trumped up enforcement action. No pun intended. And ABC complied very, very quickly, taking Kimmel off the air. But and another interesting little bit was offered by none other than Jake Tapper of CNN, who went on the air and explained ABC right now is in the middle of a negotiation with the Federal Trade Commission in order to
Yeah.
get approval for acquiring new affiliate stations by such a volume that it would exceed the regulatory limit of 39% of household penetration. You cannot do that without congressional approval. And so, it might actually be good, ironically, if ABC does that, because, they're just trying to sell Mickey Mouse product and stuff, and, Marvel and Star Wars, as opposed to Sinclair Media, owning those stations where they're trying to, do political stuff and get tax breaks for the rich. So
Yeah.
I'll
So just so you guys know, I also want to create an inclusion for our YouTube live feed, which we've had 6 people actively in the comments section right now. I can't thank them enough. They're also having a discussion out there. Some of the things in sort of maneuvering through this last piece of conversation is Mark Richard Luther, brings up like Don Rickles, Lenny Bruce, George Carlin.
Yeah.
They would all be sued, put to jail. Robert Crumb, Bill Griffith, and underground comic book artists like also Art Spiegelman, which, by the way, if you have not seen the Masterpiece Theater, it's the American Master series from PBS on Art Spiegelman, you are missing true history as a comic book artist. I'm about ready to rewatch it again tonight. It is so fucking on the line, and it moves you in an hour and a half through his not only life as an individual, but what he was maneuvering as a creative through this American world, and also what he suffered from in relationship not only to his family, but the atrocity that his parents went through in Germany and Nazi and the concentration camp. Saboteur Comics, Brunetti. This is Eric Brunetti, who does a comic called Fucked. F-U-C-T. Brunetti applied to trademark his brand F-U-C-T, Fucked, founded in 1990. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office refused, citing the Lanham Act's ban to registering immoral and scandalous trademarks. And so, once again, like, I'm knocked down. I'm not here to purposely make anybody feel that vocalizing, using a platform to amplify it is not, in something that I feel. It's just at the end of the day, and then the next day you wake up, I feel like you should be securely in your art. And make the maneuvers in your art in order to not only tomorrow or the month later that you publish it, but years and years and years down the road, people pick up your funny little comic and they go, holy shit, that's still happening today. Because Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, R. Crumb, all these guys, if they're still around, they're about ready to check out. And then it leaves it to us. Us having that.
It was like
Thank you
19
guys on YouTube. Thank you guys for spending time with
Yeah,
us.
love
Also,
those
too,
comments.
guys, Jake and I are going to probably be here for like 2, maybe even up to 3 hours today because we got a lot to get accomplished with Ken Landgraf's pages, Jake and myself. But can't thank you enough, and also expressing your POV on in the comments. So, and if you're watching this on the rewatch, please put them down in the comments. But let's be civil as artists can be. But Jake, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake.
Yeah, in I think it was 1969 or 1970, something like that. Zap number 4 was extremely scandalous because Robert Crumb drew a baby, right, in the middle of like a sex scene of a family, and he spoke about it when I saw him live at the 92nd Street Y earlier this year. Um, because that ruffled a lot of feathers, and nobody had ever done anything like that before. And it was really just like his cartoony, style, and I don't think it was meant, to look realistic or anything like that, but it was just like a sacred, cow that he was slaughtering on purpose. And he said we were just, some 20 somethings that were feeling this new freedom, like, oh, we could do anything we want here because we're getting into adult shops, we're getting into like paraphernalia shops where we don't have to worry about the comics code or Mickey Mouse or anything. So they just did whatever, and there hadn't been a test case, I guess, up to that point. But there were some people that were threatened for carrying Zap 4. I've seen Zap 4. I think I had a copy. I don't know if I have a copy now, but it had incest of a family, of all ages, and that I think helped to establish a line that we can all say, okay, that's a line. we you know
Yeah. Yeah.
we don't
And
we don't need to do that anymore. It brought heat, and in the case of Crumb, it only made him bigger. It only
Yeah.
put him on the
yeah.
map more. It
And
and
and there's and
and
there's a
what Crumb
difference between that kind of stuff and mouse, which is one of the prompts in my Inktober. I mean, we could talk about the different variations of what is proper and improper, and maybe should be censored. Maybe there should be a little bit of censorship, just because like there's good taste and then there's just bleh, So you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I read that Danzig comic too, and I didn't didn't care for the art, the story, anything. It was definitely somebody venting some bile and some venom out of their system in the form of a comic. And I don't know if Danzig was even aware, as the publisher, exactly what was in there. Maybe they were just on, had some other traffic manager handling it, and put it out, whatever. Um, you know, so but though, so we have the examples of what's gone too far and what has ruffled feathers, either in a local community or in a state level on a court proceeding or whatever. And the comic legal defense fund, what they have all the legalese of it, I guess, where anything's protected, even KKK marching down the street with signs, that's all protected, you know
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Freedoms.
but apparently we're in this new landscape now where if you say that you know Charlie Kirk was a poopy head, now you're thrown off the air, and it isn't from the government, it's from your own employer, who is in fear of the
No,
government because
no,
they
that's
have to do.
That's the thing. It is the government. If it, there's a difference between, your company's boycotted, so you get thrown off the air. That is 100% different than the FCC saying the government is going to crack down on you if that doesn't happen. Those are two completely different things.
Right, but that's
And
not what
which,
that's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with ABC, who took him off the air, and we're
because
not.
of the FCC threatening
Yeah,
them.
well, it's more about their acquisition deal, and the
Right,
fact
right.
the fact that
Follow
this
the money,
administration,
people. Follow the
Follow the money.
money.
right, because
Follow the money.
it wasn't even a month ago when the exact same thing happened with CBS Paramount. They took Stephen Colbert off the
Yeah,
air,
yeah,
and they were trying to do a merger with Skydance, which is Larry Oracle's multi-billionaire son, who
yeah,
wanted,
yeah,
and the billionaires at Paramount wanted to sell this hot potato to this other guy. They just turned over one of the biggest media empires. You're talking about Paramount, CBS, all those movie that the whole movie studio, the whole TV channel, and all the IP involved. So that's a big deal, and it made the Paramount people really, really rich, and so they were happy to pay $16 million to Trump, to his like inauguration
yeah, yeah,
committee or his campaign or whatever, as and apologized that we edited a Kamala Harris interview on a commercial promo, in a way that you didn't like it. We are at the point right now of not only these media companies capitulating, but law firms have
yeah.
also been capitulating, and they've
Schools.
been donating pro bono, millions of dollars in pro bono work for this candidate and this administration in exchange for laying off the scrutiny so that we don't get in any kind of like trouble with
Yeah,
our cases. It's crazy what's going on, because every bit of this is as illegal as anything that's ever happened in this country, but there's no appetite in the majority right now to enforce or investigate or prosecute any of this. So we're looking at a very, very special moment in time where where the party is captured. And Kurt, I know what you're thinking. This is as political as we've ever got on the podcast. But Alex's point, I think, is that it's going to be affecting us directly.
yeah, yeah. I have to go, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
say one thing. The Inktober thing is going to be specifically on the freedom of speech and the censorship. It's not any of the other stuff. Like you said, it's a rabbit hole that you could go down into. But I want, people on the right who feel, because there are people on the right who are anti-censorship and pro freedom of speech and whatnot. So I want everybody to focus in on that one issue, because I think most, if not all, creative people agree. That there should be freedom of speech, and it's just one big thing that almost everybody can agree on to fight back onto. So that's basically what I'm going with.
Yeah, well,
So
you definitely brought up an interesting subject. And let's see, Saboteur Comics is saying Brunetti applied to trademark his brand. Oh yeah, so Kurt already mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, going to the trademark office is a little ballsy with something like like a curse word, but there's a lot of test cases, people that are pushing the envelope on what you can copyright, what you can
yeah,
trademark, what you can copyright, etc.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that some words are just universal, and they're not going to let you do that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. So good catching up with you, Alex, and
Yeah, yeah, and I'll have more pages done shortly. I promise.
And we'll have you back on. And we'll have you
Oh,
back on.
we'll catch
awesome.
up again
Thanks for
soon.
having me.
All right, take care,
Always,
man.
Jay.
See you later.
See you, Alex. And you guys can get to Alex Trubin on Instagram and YouTube by just searching Alex Turbin, Turbin. So he does actually a really great comic flip through. And I usually
Right,
watch him
so
every morning. He just
yeah,
grabs comics and
he
and
just
just
did the Conan
yeah, I
movie
know. I'm
adaptation.
halfway through that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had very short breakfasts these this past week, but I got to return to that. But and that's his YouTube channel, and of course then Instagram, where I'm going to assume that's how he'll then post the prompts and then have a hashtag and be able to create the engagement in order for those who would like to join him on the Freedom October, Inktober with Alex Trubin. So always love having Alex on.
Yeah, good catch up. So what else is going on? So I wanted to show you yesterday. I was on Facebook and I saw this guy, this comic guy I know. He was actually another art teacher in the Bronx. That's how I met him. And but he's a comic guy for a long time. And he was posting that, hey, I'm at this thing today. It was kind of a weird thing. I guess you would call it like a vendor fair, or a marketplace or whatever. But it was in my county, and it was at this home for like disabled kids.
Oh wow!
And they were having like a Lego festival. So they had all these vendors and booths of people selling Lego products and related stuff, toys, games, and figures and collectibles and everything. And he had set up his comic booth, his comic stuff there, and he put it on Facebook Live where I saw it. And so I went over there because I was out and about. And I gave the donation to the for the admission, and then I'm looking around, and I'm not interested in Legos. I'm not interested in Kurt. Are you aware of this new craze called Delulus?
No, I'm not aware.
You said no before I even asked the question.
If it has anything to do with anything that's been created in the last 20 years, no, I don't. Unless it gets seeped into me.
Well, you know well about the Funko things with the little,
unfortunately,
the little boxes. All right, so there's this other like doll type characters, and they're called Delulus. I don't get it. I didn't spend any time looking at it or whatever, but it looks crazy. And there's a lot of people had them at the tables. They were talking about them. They were like $30, I think, or whatever. And but there's like a rare one, and you can do this and that, blah blah blah. So I'm just going through all these tables, and I'm just looking, all right, who's got comics and who's got records, and so I found a guy. He had a couple of records. I bought 2 records. Then I found the comic table, and Ray, my friend, he was away from his table, but the guy right next to him was a comic guy. So check this out, Kurt. Are you watching?
I'm watching.
So he is a guy, an old timer.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he had a box. So he has this character called Astron. The guy, he was a super nice guy, and his name is Tom Schiaccia.
He's on that. His books are on my pull list for mycomics.com, mycomicshop.com, my account. I swear to God. So oh man.
He has a new graphic novel out, which is the 50th year anniversary of his Astron comics that came out. 50-year anniversary. So, like I say, he's an old timer, but super nice guy. And he had like 3 copies of this in
How much you get that for?
So I got it for 10, and he threw in this.
Damn.
So he was wheeling and dealing, man. And he had like 3 copies left for 10. I should have got them all. Watch this.
Should have got me a copy. I had a page 20.
What's that?
That's why I have it on my pull list. It's very expensive right now, like $20, I think or it's very hard to come by. It's just on.
You're gonna love it. So
that is so cool, Jake. Oh
yeah,
man.
so he had So there was this, and then there was like these other
Jealous.
there was these other zines that he put out that were similar, and he was running. So his Astron character, I guess, never got put out in a major or anything. He put out his comic, his Astron comic, but these were appearances in all of these zines, and he's very Rick Buckler adjacent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buckler did the covers.
Neil
for
Adams.
well, it looks like Neil Adams in here, but it's
Yeah,
not Neil
yeah.
Adams, But so they were really just channeling Neil. And then look, somebody's channeling Kirby in the worst way. So I don't know who's doing this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And this looks like
That's why I want it.
Commandy stuff. So
That's what I wanted.
so the other time, so I got the guy's Facebook, Thomas Shiaka. And I told him that my partner will be getting in touch with him. He's totally down to do the pod, and
cool.
And get him on the calendar. And he's got like these great comics, and some of them are kind of like more zany, it looks like. But he's got these great comics that his sequential art appeared in. Plus, he just put out this graphic novel for $25, which is the 50th anniversary, and he's got the old stuff plus all new characters. All new artists doing his characters. Like it seems like an anthology, like what we're doing with Turbo, except for his Astron world. So I can't wait for us to contact him so we can get him on the schedule and talk to him, and I wanted to show you that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm making a note right now.
Yes, sir. So I gave him a bumper sticker, and I told him to look us up, and you can see the whole thing, get the idea of what it's about. But if we, you should friend him right now. And if anyone's listening, and you're not already friends, go friend Tom Sciacca. I keep wanting to say Tom Scioli because it rolls off the tongue. But
yeah.
different guy.
Wow, what a great find! What a great find!
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I should just take these kindling. So yeah, just working on. I'm finishing up the page here. I put in some gray tones. I put in these artifacts all over. I think I'm done. I maybe have to draw a few more of these. I wasn't digging how small I made the artifacts here and how large I made them here. I don't know how they're gonna print, but I guess that's half the fun, right? Seeing how everything prints. And I'm gonna just frame up this before I update it back in Quark and do the dialogue. I did have some dialogue question to go over with you. Right, so we'll figure out what the best words are there when I get back. In this scene right here, Esoterra, I wanted her to place her hand over Charvel's head, over her face, to imbue her with the power. And she's like, I now touch you. But it looks
page
like
what? 5? Page 5?
4.
Yeah, page 5. 4? 4. Okay, page 4. All right.
But it kind of looks like she's smacking her in the face. So we might have to use our dialogue balloons, to say like, I now touch you to imbue you with the power of, that you were born with, to realize your true, to see your true potential, blah, blah, blah. Words.
So I need to jump in real quick because I made a note when you and Alex were having the discussion there. Back in the 70s, what was the number one superhero team that you were collecting and avidly reading?
Well, from 75 on, you have Giant Size X-Men #1, and they became the #1 comic period for like decades.
Like
Right.
your model of a superhero team is the X-Men?
What's that?
Is your model in the head a for a superhero team the X-Men? Like primarily.
Oh, you mean my personal preference?
Well, it's like a schematic in your head. Like if you're gonna, what we do in comics is, like I do it with Conan, is you're always adjacent to the model, the design of that character or set of characters, that you hold dear, but you're pulling the attitude and definitely for you it would be the writing from that. Um,
I mean, I always preferred the Defenders
I see. I
to
thought it was Defenders.
the Avengers, but when
Uh
the
huh.
X-Men came out, I was blown away. I was
Oh
total
yeah.
fanboy. Chris
Yeah.
Claremont, Dave
Yeah.
Cockrum. No way around that. I was an avid reader, but I always had this affinity for the Defenders. Claus Janson, Keith Giffen art.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Doug Minch was the
Well, it's
was the
also
writer.
because in the Defenders were reluctantly placed together as a team,
Yeah, so Marvel,
right?
you had, I mean, they wanted to use the characters, and it was like Stan Lee and the publisher Goodman, and he was still around in those days, I believe. They were like, well, you're not using Doctor Strange in anything right now. Put
Yeah.
him in, and
Yeah.
well, we need a really popular character to anchor this book. All right, put in the Hulk. Okay, but now who else? All right, well we'll get like Nighthawk and Valkyrie, or like who the hell are they? And so you just build a team around it. Hellcat. They would have like Son of Satan. They would have all these like other, you know, kind of like you know back back burner characters, and I always like that as opposed to the Avengers, because the Avengers were like, to me, like so mainstream and like so big, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, there was all the marquee names, and it's pretty amazing that Stan Lee did that, because he was just building these characters on their own. And he said right off the bat in like 1963, I think, like, why don't we just put them all in one book? Right? I
Yep.
mean, because he was flooding the zone, and it's all about, he wasn't trying to create good art or good writing. He was just trying to sell as many copies and build brand awareness and build up, the Marvel line of characters. So, and that's what he did. And you know, thank God. But on the other hand, the there have been many copycats, many attempts. Many other people.
Well, that was
Trying
also
to,
the major point of competition is that your competitor could go through your character and comic lines and basically be like, dude, he hasn't touched this character for 7 years or 12 years, that, and then like, well, fuck it, I'm going to do my own Doctor Strange. I'm just going to change it here and here and here. And then those Doctor Strange fans that didn't get a Doctor Strange for 12 years, which is not true, but all of a sudden DC's got a Doctor Strange. He's like, oh yeah, man, Doctor Strange is back. He's just at DC. And then they're selling more comics. So yeah, very, very competitive. But the other reason I bring it up is, I always want to stay in line with your approach to dialogue, narration, text writing in general to, uh, uh, comics. So when we've had this brought up with the lettering of the Ken Landgraf pages for the casualties, where it's no fault of the art as much as it is utilizing text to bring in clarity. But I would also, with the touch of the hand, are you opposed to like her to have like a like a saying or something, like, you know, Shambalak Babi, you know, and then you know, have that as the thing where
You mean a
the touch is
catchphrase?
now active. A catchphrase, but like it's just I guess an invocation word wise as you're then making magic happen. Are you opposed to that idea?
That's a great idea. Like we could make this into a catchphrase that she says every time she touches one of the glowers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think I had a line. Yes, it says, "With this, I give you new eyes to reveal that which is in
Okay.
now." So I was thinking about the melodrama already, but it's in the next panel, page 5. Here she says, "Allow me to touch you." I can change that to "Allow me to touch your face." I can awaken within you. You know,
Or just awaken within you as I
yes,
touch, place hands in. I awaken in you. You know, the
awaken
more
within you.
commanding sorcery, that sorcery type of thing. Because yeah, even going back to that was always the cool thing about the magic system in wordplay for Conan, but also Doctor Strange. You know, so not only him and himself incantation of said magic, but you know the allies and the villains. You know, he was constantly weaving in and around. So because I love still to this day making up language and sounds. ChatGPT, one of my go-tos. I'm trying to get it to understand in my writing is the integration of onomatopoeia for action words. So instead of having it be so like, you know, here's this thing that I invocate on you. Is there some way to, you know, shapowang, you know, an onomatopoeia to really kind of connect the whole thing at those
You
moments?
mean like call it something like the like
Like a
like a
spell.
like a wrestler
Like a
has the
spell.
iron claw?
um no, more to the incantation of a spell that you know
She's just
has
gonna
its
touch
own.
it.
It's this
It's
whole.
not magic. It's science. She's just gonna touch it.
I get that. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to push um, the envelope a little bit towards a magical system invocation applied to said science.
Well, she's gonna touch her, and that touch is going to allow Charvel to see her potential, her future, her path. You know, same thing she did with Hellclaw. Um, you know, and the same thing she'll do with all these you know, glowers, these youths that have the potential for, you know, awakening their potential enhancement, you know, ability of their potential. So yeah, I just wrote, "Allow me to touch you so that such that you may awaken within." There'll be more on the next page. We'll have plenty of chance to revise this before we go to press in the next couple of weeks, but we'll take one final read through before we save everything. I'm just tightening up the lettering. So I'm ready. I any second now I'll be able to import the page 5. So at least we can get that
Cool.
off the ground.
Cool.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
you know, I got out. I broke out the 25 pages of Turbo number 2 because you know, when we had that discussion last week, we had a great discussion with the author of Berserker, not Jeff Lafferty, right?
Jeff Lafferty. I just
Yeah,
finished editing his interview. Fantastic one. It'll be up tomorrow, Tuesday at the latest.
yeah, it was a great interview, and you know, we're like instant friends and bonding with the guy, and you know, he was really just thinking about our project, and he was trying to give us some really good, advice, from his perspective, how he saw, and like, everyone says the same thing, like, why is it going so slow with you guys, and you know, and I was like, I wanted to defend us and say, we're not just getting ready to put out the inks, we're making all these pencil pages too. So I was gonna flip through those at some point, but maybe not right now. I want to finish this page first, and then
Well, he caused me to make a little note here. We need a new intro explaining what we're doing, because we
yeah,
haven't. The intro we used to run at the beginning of the show.
I used to love that intro, man.
It's on the homepage, YouTube homepage. So when you drop in there for the first time, it'll automatically play for you. The challenge is running a long form video on Riverside, live streaming from two places. There's nothing stopping us, but it also means that we don't have to have it all that long. Maybe 20
Right.
seconds. You flipping through the pencil pages, which I think would be a great pull from that video interview with Jeff Lafferty, and then me intersecting, inking, the turbo pages that are about ready to go to press. But we would need, some eloquent verbiage to just give that thing, because your outros have gotten so tight that I'm actually going to use that outro in the next indie creator update reel, because it was so like, and it was short and sweet. So that was just the thing. So no rush. It's just just things that come up.
Sure, yeah, but yeah, it was good. It was great feedback. I'm glad we do the indie creator exchange all the time.
Yes.
Those are some good pointers to think about. Um, all right, so for now, I'm going to be all right. So I think I left some dialogue here on the table. Here it says, suddenly at this tense moment, who appears in a swirl of Q particles, but esoteric. I'm losing control of this thing. This is just like popping around so much now. I think that something's really sensitive with my tablet. But esoteric. Now, there are some lines here. Tall panel shows esoteric levitating into the bathroom, hovering above a cloud of quantum particles. Narrator. Oh, okay. So the narrator said the line. You can get rid of that. Charvel says esoteric. Well, I wrote that here in graphics, so I guess we don't say that anymore. Oh, maybe she should. Do I have? I don't think I have space. And then esoteric says it is time. So I need to put that in now. That's good. All right. So let's take this dialogue and stick it in a word balloon. We have some room here, I guess, over these speed lines, which aren't doing anything. And I'm trying to zoom into a specific spot here. And here, I'll duplicate a word balloon. And here, I'll duplicate a bubble. Nope. The bubble, okay. And that will go here. It is time. It's high time. And I'll just retype this. So yeah, Esoteric talks very like Doctor Strangey. She's very much based on Doctor Strange with her costume design. Uh, you know, but the difference is it's like not magic; it's science. We just haven't explained it yet.
which is magic.
Yeah. Oh, it's magic. You know what's weird? It just printed up a regular eye. It's the first time I've ever seen that. How did that happen? I think if it doesn't start a line, look at that. If it's in the middle, I like that better. But I don't know how I did that. I didn't hit any special key. It is time. So there's some other conventions happening. I saw there's some upstate ones and around the New York City metro. Jersey's always having these different ones too. But not really planning to go out. Don't have any money to spend and can't do any tabling. I am going to be tabling at a record fair, and I'm going to be bringing my comic stuff. So I'll be at the WFMU record fair in early November, and selling vinyl. But I also going to bring some artwork. I'm going to bring my painted faces, and bring some comic art, some original art, and not too much, and bring a couple of comics, and see if there's any art aficionados passing by. All right, we have It Is Time in there now. Save Esoterra, just like in the dream. Oh, come closer, child. We need to say come closer, child. I don't think we can fit that in, so I'm gonna have to jettison that. Do you think I should say come closer, child? Also, do you think this is confusing? It looks like she's jumping out of this little panel and into this panel where she's already at. I wonder if that's confusing. Kurt, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It's hard for me to see. Like I can see your text, but I can't see your the art you're at, where you're at on the art.
Well, you have the
You're
pages.
on-
So yeah, you have the
Yeah,
page.
yeah.
So page
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
She's Esoterra's jumping into the frame that she's touching Charvel in.
Oh wait, that's 6.
There's nothing we can really do about that, but I hope it's clear.
This one here, this panel here, or this one down here.
Yeah.
This one here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So thinking I just hope it's clear that she's popping, she's jumping down out of that panel. And that's kind of into the panel where she's already there. Maybe I should put a little halo around her or something, separate her from the background. I mean, the guy's in the background too, so the whole thing is like a montage, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the indication. I mean, I don't see any difference between the two characters, and then obviously moving out of this third panel space into this larger 4-panel space. I guess the action, the clarity for this action is really where we're most needing something specific. Now, this area off at his chin, do you have text in there right now? I see something. What does it say?
His chin?
Yeah, his chin down here with a. Do you have something?
She says, "It is time."
Okay. ...
Allow
and then there needs. And
such
yeah,
that you may awaken within.
Yeah. And that's underneath her. Is that what's next? Under? Yeah. Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Then up here, are you want the incantation verbiage? Quantum you. You know, quantum hey. Whatever.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
know what? I could put
right.
I could put it is time there instead. That's a good point.
Right, because I'm looking at this as this figure falls this way and then goes this way and then it's exit this way, which is pretty obvious. I mean, I think anybody would move that way. Our placement of verbiage panel box wise would be obvious to think, because you got the Zach, which is good.
I like the idea of putting it is time here, even if it's touching her leg a little bit. And oops, it is time to embrace your destiny.
Yeah.
It sounds a little Darth Vader-ish.
It's all about the pop culture, baby.
I'm really struggling with this computer because it's like hopping around like hot potatoes.
It's getting all well, it's been on for almost 2 hours now, so I don't know if
I
that's
don't
an issue.
I don't think it's overheated. I think it's the sensitivity
Touch the
of
fan.
no, you know what? You know what the problem is? The trackpad button, it's like in and it's pressing the trackpad all the time. I can't get it out. So I bought some compressed air that I can try, but I need to get I think there's some like something sticking in the trackpad that's making it apply all the time when I don't want it.
Cheeto dust. Cheeto dust is always what gets me. Cheeto fingers.
Right. Well, I don't eat around this thing, but it's very old, and it's like holding down the button half the time intermittently when you don't want to, and
Right. Been there.
extremely annoying. I'm trying to fiddle faddle with that, but yeah, I'll get this back, and it is time. And then she'll say, "Allow me to touch you, such a you may awaken within and embrace your destiny." Or should I put it is time to embrace your destiny up top, where next to her leg?
Awaken within. Because awaken within could be the onomatopoeia incantation. Awaken within.
Yeah.
Kimula hoosh. Kimula hoosh. Awaken within. Could put a little asterisk, and at the bottom it says translates to wait, Kimla hoosh.
Right. It looks like I'm locking up here. Let me see. Yeah, it's not letting me do anything.
Ooh, got a reboot.
So when I hit the track,
Reboot.
I just want to hit undo so I get this back. It keeps dragging this goddamn graphic around. Okay, and that's not where it is. Okay, that's where it's supposed to be. So I think it's got to be kicked over more, right? Like this. Right. Okay. Now I'm gonna hit save. Worst comes to worst, I can always go back because they ask you to save when you're done. It is time to embrace your destiny. Let's grab that text here. So I want to zoom into this little window. I'll grab this text from the literal script. Now we will duplicate this and paste, and we will select this box, duplicate that, and paste. Make this a little bit wider. And now I'm going to zoom in and balance these things out. It is time to embrace your destiny. So I wanted to bring up a segment. We were continuing a discussion from last week. And I think last week we were talking about some future technology, including AI. And I was wondering if you've been seeing, because I heard a podcast of this financial columnist or some financial investigative reporter. I don't know. I think he's with Wired or some magazine like that, TechCrunch or something like that. But it was this guy that has a long form article or a book. I forget which. He was on the Majority Report, which is a podcast that I really recommend. Um, but he was, the premise of this guy was all about he's down on AI, very, very down on AI. And, I know the whole rest of the world is going the other way, including big business. You talk about the investments by Microsoft, by Meta, by Google, OpenAI, and this thing called Anthropology, where they're selling this, I guess, platform um, that can be like, customized to your needs. My daughter went to school with this girl who is now working for one of the major brokerage houses on Wall Street, and we had them visiting yesterday, her and another friend, and she told us that you know they have their own AI custom made to suit their particular job function, make their job easier, and it's they I'm sure they pay a lot of money. I don't know how much, to get open AI to do it, and give them this version of Chat GPT that enables them to do their financial research in just the way that they need to do it. And I was explaining that in my classroom, um, I have a very limited Chat GPT that I can look up. Oh, give me an outline for a lesson plan, blah blah blah, numbered 1 to 10 with every student's name in it, so that I can make a list, stuff like that, just ease of automation, the drill. But as soon as I'm trying to do something a little more involved, it tells me, oh, okay, if you want to do that, you have to log in. And I'm like, I can't log in because the login screen is blocked by the Department of Ed. So, I can only do limited things, but I have access to ChatGPT without logging in. And, it's funny that they're limiting, somebody in a public school because, the really kind of like, I guess, greed motivating thing is that everything everybody does on AI is helping the learning models, create the product for the future, right?
Yeah.
And if you have thousands and thousands of teachers and thousands of students using it, it's learning and learning and learning, which is very, very valuable to the company. And we are all basically uncompensated guinea pigs, and whatever we're doing, whatever we need this for, it's like, oh, look, the teachers need spelling test printout sheets, at this time of year, or the teachers need, the stuff on the Greek gods, this time of year, usually, and they can really like enhance their product for the future to, because it's all probabilistic and it's all, anticipating, what am I likely to need and what am I likely to do and all that. Anyway, this guy, this author, this journalist was saying that there is no profit right now, and that a lot of these companies investing all this money are getting zero back. And there's a lot more refinement needed. It might like automate like these tasks, but then you realize, like 80% of it is wrong, and then you have to have a human fix it, or, things have gone out and been published already that have been, inaccurate or incomplete or whatever, and so, it's still developing and it's still, mutating or iterating, I should say. but that he says that there is, I think he was trying to discourage people from investing, like ma and pa listeners from investing, because you're going to lose your shirt. Like we had internet bubbles, and we had, B2B bubbles, and we had NFT bubbles, and we had all these things. So he was saying, like, we need a lot more caution, and on the AI front, because all of this investment is just going out the window. And we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, and you're talking about an incredible scale that is, impacting the kind of, like, the fundamental business structure of in-person workers, right? And it's really threatening that, um, which is going to change society forever, once it is finally realized. But he's saying there is no economic model right now for an investor to invest in this, either a company that's going AI or the AI itself, hardware, software, and have a profitable model. He says, right now there's companies like, medical companies, they make money by denying claims, so they can try to make AI, deny more claims. Or if you have like a company that has a subscription service, well, now you want to upsell products so that you're basically getting more money from your same customers, instead of going out and getting new customers, right? And then there's all of these kind of like self-cannibalizing models, that AI is doing, and there isn't really the model yet for, um, you know, uh, return on investment. That's what his argument was. What does Kurt say?
Good. Well, the biggest issue right now is the workforce being completely unskilled labor towards um, uh, interacting with AI, and its reluctancy. It's the school systems. The school systems have never, ever, in the public school systems I would speak to, would never teach anybody how to think structurally inside a box, to get out of the box, to get back inside of the box for problem solving, critical thinking, these types of things. So I think what this guy is definitely alluding to, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to watch the entire thing or get a better understanding of what his position is. But I've been hearing a lot in the wheelhouse of the shift in big AI tech is now to provide some sense of educational base for products that did not come true in the way of you don't need workers anymore because this thing is a fully functional hive that will implement all of that. And it's just absolutely false, because if you think of it this way, one of the competitive edges in all business, art specifically, is what I ride on, is, hey, hi, everybody. I'm a human being, and I do this in real time. So in other words, you could call me on the phone, and I'll answer your questions and help direct you to the actual answers. That's not going away. It's just so evident. They're actually saying every week AI as an industry is causing 35 to 65,000 job openings. The problem is there's no training to ramp anybody up to it. So now they're trying to figure out how to pair certain people inside human resources in order to advance into positions that will be able to actually interact, check, input, output, all of this information. And, it's not surprising. It's why I got on the AI train 2.5 years ago, just by watching videos and people talking and joining some newsletters, because it was the third coming of tech. From everything from the internet personalized computers or personalized computers, internet, and then this would probably be actually fourth because social media platforms was considered the third. That now you're looking at you have to be very critical thinking based as an employee, and there's just not enough training out there, and then incentive for that reason. I, as a layperson technological, in other words, I am technologically without, like, my brain has a hard time staying left-sided and dealing with all of this like input output computer jargon and everything. So I always need interfaces that are basically dummy proof. But I do understand whatever I'm inputting, I want a specific output or output closest to. So then it becomes this tinkering of my conversation with said AI. A lot of it for me, just so everybody's clear, is like, it's my business. It's the business of managing myself on my own, primarily when I'm migrating right now. I don't know when it could be official, but I'm migrating from using OpenAI to Google's workspace, and it's Gemini, because I pay for it with cromthebarbarian.com. And what I want to build over there at cromthebarbarian.com is a community. And they're offering me basically for $8.40 a month the whole freaking farm and access to it. I could build apps. I can build Discord servers. I can do all these things. I just don't have
like the metaverse model that Meta was investing heavily in, and they thought everyone was going to, every business like Nike and everyone would have their own metaverse destination. People can come in.
But you need somebody to manage this stuff. You need people to manage this stuff. And really, the younger people are perfect for it because they are on their phones all the time. They all want it. They're all in their own clicky groups. They say anybody under the age of 30 is never enough on Facebook, Instagram. TikTok is iffy. It's mainly influencer type people. They're on their own Discord servers. Like, that's a huge thing. So they're in places where they feel comfortable, they feel safe, as much as you can, but they're able to share, they're able to get, response back and everything. And so that's a niche. But to go back to the origin of your question, the origin of what you're bringing into the conversation is that somebody out there is saying, big AI tech is failing its investors. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, they launched this thing like right out of the gate, and no parameters. And then the Biden administration came in, set up all these parameters, slowed everything to a grind, scared the fuck out of everybody. Trump gets in, oh, fuck it, let them do whatever they want. Everybody's like, wow, this is great. But now there's so much freedom. Once again, we, the people, are the ones that have to endorse said business model or the transaction, therefore, as an employee, and how we will sustain ourselves, working, earning an income, and going from there. And I believe that is just slippery as fuck right now. It's just, there is nowhere to put your feet. If you're over the age of 60 years old and you're looking to make a shit ton of money off of AI, there's nowhere you could put your finger. The only thing you could hope for no, there isn't. and at least because I'm always looking for something, but there's nothing. Because there's no fundamental ground for it to stand on right now, other than it to be out in our society causing a whole bunch of havoc. That's it. That's all it does. It's contentious. It's hyperbolic. It's, I don't use that because it's AI. Well, what are you talking about? You've been using AI for 20 something years. It's just now been formulated into this place. I mean, most of the tools too that I use that are free are incredible. Just things that would take me maybe 45 minutes in Photoshop, like that, done, free. You know what I mean? Like removing backgrounds from photos. Go into Photoshop. Nope. Just take the photo, drop it into the browser for free. Boom, gone. Download. Move on. I don't have the luxury of time. My time is completely hammered down every day that I wake up, because that's how I make my living. It's not like, oh man, I'm an artist and I'm freelance. No, I get 3 hours max a day to make art, and the other 8 hours is me doing the business in order to maintain that. And I believe I have a higher probability of being successful because of these AI resources. You know, I think Google is going to be the one that really does it, because the magic is most everybody has, whether it's a primary, if not secondary email, a Google account.
Right. So Google, I might be wrong, but Google is they're developing a version of OpenAI. It's a big
no, they've already
partnership
have. They already
that.
have.
Well, yeah, they have Google, they have Gemini, right? But that's just a retail product for end user consumers.
Oh yeah.
For enterprises, I think there's this Anthropic thing, and there's also these like developer kits and stuff which allow you to build on it, and that's where there's like a lot of big money being moved around, because the big companies see themselves replacing a lot of people, or maybe helping the people that they have um, do their jobs better. um, and so, and it's a lot of investment. This right here is the guy I was talking about, and if anybody wants to jump off and and listen to this in the
What's his
background,
name?
so his name is Justine Hauge or Haig.
Haig.
Yeah, I think he's from the UK, and this segment was called "The New Economic Nationalism." Oh no, sorry, this is a separate segment. AI bubble already bursting with Justine Haig, and he is a writer for Current Events, and he has a website, and he's got his own thing, and he's like a professor, I think, at Cambridge. So he's got his credentials and expertise and everything, and a lot of interesting stuff to say, a lot of interesting questions to ask. But are we going too fast?
Yeah.
Are we jumping in? Definitely yes. In education, maybe it's just right for Kurt in the comic production realm, where it's helping you out immeasurably if you're like a one-man band trying to do stuff. I definitely use it, but the thing is, like, love it or hate it, I have a lot of criticisms about AI, but love it or hate it, it's here, and we have to train our students to compete, whether they're using AI or not, with other people that are, and to understand, what it can do, and what they can do to kind of, secure their place in the marketplace, and to understand, the benefits, the drawbacks, and how they fit in, because our job is just to prepare them to survive and be self-sufficient, and to zoom ahead academically if that's what they're looking for. If not, it's basically just to avoid being replaced by a robot. And we're not talking theoretically anymore, Kurt. I every day when I'm in my kitchen, like cooking or doing dishes, I ask my smart speaker, "Is there any news about AI?" A very general question, and it gives me headlines. And I heard the headlines just yesterday, that there's a huge round of funding that just went, I think, $100 billion or some monumental amount like that in China. And this relates to AI, but they're building humanoid robots in this new round of funding right now. And you wonder, wow, it was, should I get in on this, or are investors going to get in on this? is this gonna be the killer app now, where these humanoid robots are actually doing tasks? You know, I've heard that they're gonna be, really, really affordable, the Chinese ones. And so, what the hell is going on? Like, it's an insane new world that we're entering now, and it's only 2025. So, this is where we're at, for God's sakes.
Well, that's the problem with us old people, is it's moving way too fast. You young people, you're moving way too fast. I'm getting a little scared here, and I'm not. I mean, I'm really elated by it all. Change in especially the marketplace causes what's called a hole of opportunity.
Exactly.
And no, it's just a place where you as an individual can intersect with it. And I have, oh gosh, I mean, when I look back, the majority of my living has been exactly that: either entering employment for somebody because they need not only something specific, but ultimately me. I know it might sound arrogant, but living in little rinky-dink Wilmington, Delaware, and people need creative this or creative that, I figured out ways to fit myself in there. Um,
Yeah,
I don't want to work. I don't want to work for anybody anymore, and I want the time that I spend as an artist to. I want to be able to propagate my products, in a real life term, not my art, to not only sustain myself, but actually create something of value that at some point within my retirement be able to sell at an extreme amount of value, which I feel is the new artist. Like, the new artist is not trying to think that your physical art is going to be of any value unless you create some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Superman type of IP. I still think there's hope for middle to low level or layered in our society creatives that actively build communities and interact with people, and make products that benefit, enhance, and serve a greater sense of joy, especially when it comes to comic books and entertainment. But holes of opportunity is really where people. I say it to my nephews all the time. They blink and stare at me. Two of them in particular. And my father sits across the table and just laughs, because that's what he told me when I was 23 years old. And the sooner I got on board with that type of thinking, the more money and opportunities I was given. Just because something is deemed new, evil, technology, overlords, all these things, as you state, they're here to stay. You know what I mean? You can spend energy fighting it, or you can spend energy learning, appropriating it, and using it for yourself, but maybe even down the road against them. So if those are your choices. But the place I'm at right now, I'm in my last 10 years of employment, where I can then start collecting Social Security and all that. And I have a very definitive plan, and it's going well. And the integration of AI in my business is making it even truer. And
yeah, I was talking about industrial scale.
But I don't know what is that. I mean, if you're talking like integrating that into Turbo, I don't know why or where it really fits into,
so
my reality in being specific. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where
there's people that are using, there's people that are using AI for productivity, and building things now that are, there's going to be some winners and losers, and somebody's going to build some killer AI tool that's going to allow somebody to sit down and create something, just by typing in a prompt, or maybe just talking to it, back and forth, in a chair, and and then the computer will do all the work, and
I
you can talk.
disagree with you. I disagree with you so completely, but continue.
Yeah, well, we're already seeing this now. There's in vaporware anyway, but we're seeing these promises of build an app without without any coding necessary. Basically you're just talking to the AI, and it's going to do all the work, and it's going to be magic, right? So those are the kind of promises that are being sold right now. And the product itself, it probably sucks right now. But if that's, the goal is to build that product, I could see that being built over years and becoming real. I can see that happening. It's just a matter of time and trial and error, and market adoption, and the usual supply and demand of creating a service for a need. And
So are you
um,
afraid it's going to make you obsolete? That magical sitting in a chair in front of a button and coming up with a word or a string of words, and it makes an entire IP exist, and it crushes all other IPs in the way of
it's
just
already
because of
doing that.
attention span. Yeah, I mean, it's been
If,
doing that
if you're
ever
talking
since.
about coming
I
up
don't
with
know. I don't
characters,
know where your. What is your
coming up with
personal
characters
concern,
and
Jake?
create scripts
What
for
is your
artists,
what
that's
is your
already there.
personal concern? What is your personal concern? Like you being obsolete? Because there's only one Jake Jacobs. Trust me, sir. There's only one Jake Jacobs, and he's incredible. It's so
Um,
he only shows himself for 2 to 3 hours, 3 hours basically every Sunday, and the proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like if we were doing this full time, this would be a whole nother game. And you would also, I think, be talking in a whole nother perspective. But the reality is that you got a little baby toe on your left foot in the game right now, and you might be more concerned of that being obliterated, uh, and helping you stay within the confines of your employment. You know what I mean? Um,
well,
the
my
opportunity is endless.
yeah, I mean, I'm not really talking about you know I mean, I do talk all the time about, to my students, make yourself indispensable. I used to have a huge banner up that said, will you be replaced by a robot? Learn art, go to be in the creative arts, go to school, train, use your talent, and work hard and train and develop your skills and all that. Typical teacher stuff, lecturing middle school kids about their future. But um, I think 20 years from now, Kurt, it's going to be a fantastic, unbelievable landscape of artificial intelligence. And I think you are going to be able to press a couple of buttons and get a full comic book printed out and everything.
It's gonna
I think they're gonna. I
suck.
think they're gonna suck. But if but there have always been hacks. There have always been humans that
Sure.
are just hacks, and they. I mean, that's the whole thing about AI. Like, one good complaint that I heard was somebody saying, the AI is programmed, and it's based on learning from things that were already created, and that means that the the move forward stops. Right? We're just using an amalgam of things that have already been done and synthesize it in random iterations, to give something that, oh, maybe the person said, oh wow, this is great, I'm going to use that exactly as it is. um, on the other hand, the humans are always pushing forward and thinking about, what's never been done, and you know new concepts and new ideas, and and what's going to happen, I think, is that there's going to be hybrids of human slash digital creation, and it's all just going to be fed right back into the learning of AI forever. And so, it's going to build on itself, and it'll be harder and harder to tell the difference.
I think the thing that will be the shoe that drops is when everybody goes back to accepting Photoshop as their primary space to create. That's what your article, or the guy that was talking, that's what he's alluding to, is that a company like Adobe, or whoever owns Adobe, their suite lost money for a period of time because there was this rebellion, all this unethicalness, and everything that went on, which is totally true. I'm totally in alignment with that. But there's also been a slow exodus back to Adobe, based on the power of being able to create exactly what you're saying, with the guy sitting at the desk with the button and the word or string of words in order to make a comic that prints out, and he at least gets it to market, and he makes $10,000 based on just sitting in his pajamas and pushing a button and so like that. So then you have this large base of people who will do that. But then what'll happen is it'll blow open the comics event, the event of people wanting to read comics. And then they'll be like, I don't really dig all this crap. Well, what else is there out there? Is anybody making them by hand anymore? Well, look at these two yams. They've been doing this since 2022. Every Sunday they get on and look, they got this big community. Oh, wow. It's big community, might be like a couple thousand followers. Wow, it took them 5 years to put a comic book out. But look at this. It's all hand. Look what these people are saying about the comic book. Look how much support they get. Look how much love they get. Blah, 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 blah. That can't go amiss. But Adobe has got to become, or somebody like Adobe needs to be socially accepted completely. And their stocks rise and they become public, and all this kind of stuff. Right now, yes. There's nobody doing it, but it's coming. But it's coming.
Well, I was at a symposium, and who was presenting there but Adobe, and they were presenting their whole suite, including Photoshop, Illustrator. They have Adobe Animate, which is the latest version of Flash. Their animation thing. And they had a room full of art teachers there. This was at the High School of Art and Design, and this was last year. This is more than a year ago now, and they were introducing their new AI dialogue tool. And for people that create in Adobe, now you can just type what you want, and then the computer will generate it. He did right in front of us. Okay, let's see a crocodile in a swamp, and here's a leopard, and hit the button, and you see the machine chugging, and then all of a sudden it appears, and it's not quite right. So he says, reverse the angle and change it to more orange and do that. And he did it, and everybody clapped, and everybody, so Adobe is embracing this, for better or worse. And, they did have a neat trick where, I think I told you about this. You can submit a 2D drawing of a character, and then you press this button to make it an all-around three-dimensional 360 model, and it does it for you. And that was the biggest applause that they got.
You know how old that technology is? Do you know how old that technology is?
They were
10 years. 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. I was using that same product with my father in order to make 3D models, then print three-dimensionally 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're talking about something different. You're talking about CAD, where you're designing.
It's called SketchUp. It was called SketchUp, and it's been completely obliterated. And it was obliterated about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's actually one of the reasons. Because my dad suspected it had to do with AI. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about, you old man? And then he kept forwarding me articles. And I was like, oh, shit, look, this company bought that company and this company's backed by these people. And then these people want to get together and start this thing called OpenAI. Oh, Elon Musk, da, 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 da. But that was one of the first, I can't wait to actually, yeah. It was one of the first things where they were using that intelligence, which has been around forever, literally since the invention of computers, is the ability, because everything is digitized. We forget this. It's not magic. It has to be digitized. But if you have to put information in order for that thing to come out at the other end, hence how I don't see anybody having anything amazing, if you will, in the way of you fucker. Did I get it?
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I mean, the guy claimed that they were premiering it right then and there. I've never seen anything where you input a picture of like a a little character. I draw Turbo, face front, and then the machine gives you the ability to spin her around 360 and then just hit okay there, print that, use that. um that's what they were premiering, and it's not so much AI really as it is just I mean, yeah, maybe because you have to conceptualize the parts that you can't see, right? Like around the back of their head and all that stuff, and what's on her back of her shirt, but regardless, who did it first. The tools are just advancing, very, very rapidly, so that a layman could come along and say, all right, 32-page comic, dragons and swords and sorcery, and there's going to be, a character named Guinevere and blah, 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 and then hit the print button and it'll generate something.
Yeah, but it's all going to be, it's all derivative. It's all, and you can't pump, nobody's going to publish something that has already been published, or it's just, once again, I think
it's iterative.
It's just so blah. It just doesn't align with me on anything inside that makes me fearful. Oh, exactly. And most of that stuff is in Power Comics.
Can you
the field Power Comics? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think I am sentient computer being I feel in my lifetime, which is probably 20 or 30 years from here. It's not existent. It's not existent in the way that people fantasize sci-fi or allow themselves to become emotionally overwhelmed by the idea of something out there not caring about them. As I can try to convince you, at least, lady or guy, to care about me, because you're human, right? You're human, right? Don't not be a human in this situation. But when you're now dealing with a thing that's wandering around from China in a humanoid bipedal design and is functioning higher at your intelligence, that's, I think, also the bigger fear. It is not only smarter than you, it is above you as a sentient being. I don't believe we're going to see it. I think we're going to live through a robot rebellion, if you want to put. I think you're going to see, if you go on YouTube, I think they might have pulled down most of the videos, but for a while you could watch large groups of people turn over and burn autonomous cars, cars that taxis that were driving around San Francisco, San Diego, and all those. And they got them to go all down one street. I know there was a video I saw, like this is like 3, 4, 5 years ago. So, it wasn't AI generated, but it's this humanitarian base of rebellion, of trying to sell us something and integrate it that we're fundamentally, as an evolving primate, nowhere near. Nowhere.
So that was one of the storylines in the Animatrix, which is a great DVD, that contains imagined stories from the world of the Matrix in various styles of art and animation, and
Yeah.
one of them had this great like you know kind of like historical account of how the humans rebelled against the robots and they
Yeah.
were beating them up in the streets and stuff. And they played sad music, so you're supposed to feel sympathy for the robots. They
Yep.
show like a
Now
female
you're gonna make
robot.
me. Now you're gonna make me go watch that tonight, Jake. You just totally triggered me in a most. Oh my god, man.
Yeah,
Oh
the Animatrix is
damn,
a great
damn you.
example of
Mm.
sci-fi animation, and it wasn't in the movies. You had to pick up the DVD one way or the other. Uh, but
That's awesome.
Yeah, but so that was good, and yeah, there's going to be extremist views on replacing teachers and like maybe even it's going to be real controversial because I embrace the controversy in my storylines. I'm making it as controversial as the pleasure robots.
Yes.
Changing the
Yes.
fabric of the family, the nuclear family. And so I have a whole chapter dedicated to that. That's going to be great, and it's going to lead to a hot war between the genders, you know.
So
But
so
but
look, I got. I've been dying. I'm sorry, but I got to ask you a question. But go ahead. Please complete what you're saying. I'm sorry.
so one of the more controversial applications for humanoid robots might be childcare,
Oh
because
god.
we
Oh
right
god.
now you right
Don't
now
say
you
that.
yeah, well, we just bought, our little doggy is getting older, and we just bought a camera, like a nanny cam for the living room, because we want to keep eyes on her during the day. There's two
Yeah.
days a week where there's nobody home but her, and we're afraid that she's going to try to, like, pitch herself over the couch to try and get over the barrier or whatever, or start, like, or maybe she passes out or something. So we just got that, but for years they've had these baby monitor things that they have eyes and ears on the baby in the crib, so that mom and dad can walk away and go have a Chianti, and if there's any crying, or if there's moving around, so what would happen if there was a humanoid robot in there? And so now the monitoring, it's the baby starts crying, and then they're immediately comforting the baby with a soft touch of a robot hand, rocking their cradle, or caressing their face or whatever. So this is going to be really controversial. Our mom's going to be replaced by robots, and
You might as well just go. Might as well just go straight to the farms. Forget about having a child. Just go ahead and get one from the farm.
yeah, I mean, all the above. Like, think about construction, for God's sakes. I mean, all of the things that we employ, low wage humans for, like, like picking fruit, or plowing the snow, or cleaning the windows outside of a building, or even better, cleaning inside pipes, like in the sewers, like going in and
Yeah.
scrubbing. That's what we could
Yeah.
really use the robots for, because humans can't get down there anyway.
Yeah.
So all of this is in
Whew.
play, and the companies that are first to market with, hey, we got your pipe scrubber. You have pipes underneath
Proven.
underneath the lake. No problem. We'll send our spiders down there, and they'll completely varnish, come clean and shine, the inside of it. Um, the promise of that is great. Or cleaning the roof, cleaning the outside of the glass.
Gutters.
Yeah, these are all great opportunities for
And
AI.
that's the reality, though. That's where the reality is going to come into. But anything that is you think is going to replace teachers or
Oh, they're already doing. They're,
human base interaction is not.
well, that's
There's
the question. I mean,
it would be the fail of our society. It would be the failure of our society to
that's the question. There are
completely.
a lot of parents right now that recognize, well, you can get a kid to learn mathematics, robotically from they call it a digital Sherpa, but it's really like, a robot tutor. You tell the computer, all right, I think this is the answer. No, this is the answer, and here's why. Let's do it again. Repetition, practice, rinse, repeat. And you have plenty of parents that say, no, I don't want that for my kid. They need to have the human touch with, so they can learn to socialize and learn to behave and learn to share and all this stuff. But there are plenty, Kurt, plenty of parents that are saying, no, I'm all the way out here in India. I can't even get to a school. I can't afford a school. Well, there's no schools around here. I want my kid, to learn. And they've been doing this for a long time, using Khan's Academy and using, whatever's available, the lessons on Google and, different programs, and now Duolingo, to learn new languages. So, all this stuff is in play. It's just a question of mass adoption because, once you have a big public school system doing this and actually firing teachers to save money, and they're going to claim that there's no decline in quality, right? Because they're just looking at the math scores and or the reading scores. They're not looking at everything else. Like, is the kid a taking time bomb, or does the kid know how to to speak to other humans? Do they have any empathy? Do they have what?
So Jake, we got a comment. We got a comment in on YouTube. I don't know. Do you have your YouTube comments open?
Yeah, I can bring it up. Let's see.
We might have to speak. We might have to speak to it, but there might be a point. There might be a point. I don't want to.
So this is King Megatrip
dismiss.
Saying, I know why this issue is taking so long. You guys are not working while you talk. We're trying. No, Kurt's drawing like crazy. At least he is. I'm fighting this computer, but
if anybody's not getting anything done, is your about to die laptop.
Right. I mean, if people don't know King Megatrip, that's our friend Matt, and he's ribbing us.
He's spitting truth.
There's also
Megatrip is speaking truth.
There's also truth. I mean, I'm unfortunately I'm going back and forth, so I'm going like one step forward, two steps back. I'm trying to zoom in. When you zoom in, these things look fine, but then when we're trying to finalize it, it's annoying. But yeah, we got to have Matt on at some points. We have him in the rotation too. It's always fun when he comes aboard. Yeah, I mean, maybe we're spending too much time. We do get into this, pretty hot and heavy, because it has serious ramifications for society. But maybe that's enough of it.
And Turbo.
Right. I mean, by the time you get to Turbo time, we're talking about 2150s or the 2240s. That's when our storyline is happening.
Well, there is. I don't want to forget this, because if it could be just an open-ended question, but going back to the P-bots, and this sort of issue of dealing with sci-fi reality right now, and a 1999 started post-apocalyptic comic book that was like a very lofty idea, you know what I mean? I mean, we neither one of us ever kind of saw it as anything, but the question is it goes like this. There's a question and then a statement. The question is, how versed are you with Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I've been playing around with ChatGPT on the idea of dealing with a P-bot in 1973 espionage.
Well, the technology for P-bots was like basically a blow-up doll in 1973. That's about as good as he got. You don't have animatronics. You don't have. You might have silicone breasts and real hair wigs, but I don't think you're gonna get a lifelike girlfriend simulation so that you can lure soldiers into your paramilitary force. So that's
Are
what
you
I'm planning.
familiar with? Are you familiar with Philip K. Dick's "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," which Ridley
Well,
Scott turned
have I
into?
read it? No, but I did
Okay,
see on TV. There's Electric Dreams, which is a Netflix
yeah,
series based
yeah,
on it, and I've
yeah.
seen a couple of episodes of that. I'm sure I'm sure that's like an updated Hollywood take, but
Well, the replicants, I think, are such an interesting. I'm just so damn surprised, and it must be because of the protection on the IP that there probably is tons of stuff out there. And if anybody knows a good comic book or comic books that deal with the replicants out, like kind of like adjacent to um, Blade Runner, both the Blade Runner movies. I would assume in the mid to late '90s there were probably a couple. I just never came across them because I was so far outside of comics. But I have been kind of going back. I did read again, "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," which is not like the movie, but the whole idea is the validation. How do you validate something artificial to appear human and engage seamlessly? And so my prompting questions in ChatGPT was literally priming it with 70s, early 70s vintage paperback novels, and listed some novels that I'm aware of, which you can read at least the first chapter on some of these things, like Super Doll on Gardner Francis Fox Library Substack. But man, what a good time it was getting to when you're trying to apply how to train something to be, for pleasure, but it has to have this seamlessness of being real, and I keep digressing to the replicants in "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" and even the Blade Runner movies. So I just wanted
so
your kind of like
I'm gonna
update take on that.
I'm gonna like think ahead a little bit. I don't think at some like in the beginning, oh wow, this is real. It's almost like a real girl, and I want to marry her. I imagine that in the beginning that's important, but after like two generations of it, it's not. Who cares what used to be real? Now they're just going for whatever their pleasure is, whatever their kink is, and it might be something that diverts from human, behavior, human conduct. It might be, God only knows within the realms of, the bedroom, what people are doing and what they might do, after a couple of generations of having a pleasure robot, that does anything they want, completely submissive and subservient. And you brought up the one movie, Cherry 2000, I think, where
Yeah,
where that was the premise. But we could
yeah.
go back to the 60s, where you have the Vision in the Avengers, the famous scene, an android can cry. Remember that? You have all the sci-fi, you have the Blade Runner, there's so many examples. I mean, in the comics, there's the entire future is predicated on the fact that there will be robots or synths, androids that are interacting with humans. They take it as a given. It depends on the storyline and how you treat it. But we're really at the dawn here of this actually happening. I mean, we look at like Star Wars, and they're like little droids, beep boop boop, and they look like a mailbox. And we see now that they're that Tesla and China is really making these. They're a lot more streamlined, aerodynamic. They're engineered a lot more carefully. Sometimes there are exposed wires. You talk about Boston Dynamics. You're talking about all these companies. There's one named Asimov, right? I think Honda has the Asimov robot that's helping old people up and down stairs already in Japan. So there's a lot of different applications, and it's an incredible world to try to keep your eyes on, just day to day, because it's starting to take off, and we're at the point right now where I think robot assistants are, the marketplace. You can't just say I want to build a robot and then we're going to figure out what it does. What you have to say is let's look at some human profession that can be replaced, and can we get a robot to do that job? If so, then we can replace them, save all these companies all this money, and then we'll get rich in the process. I think that's what these companies are looking for right now, and that could be anything from teachers to cops to soldiers to prostitutes to you know anything and
So you don't
everything.
have you don't ever like dip into the Philip K. Dick replicant
I mean, I don't read
model for
books.
your fantasy.
Yeah, I don't read books in general, so that's
I
I
thought you
don't.
I thought you actually did. Like I thought there were some books that you kind of cite in your sourcing, if you will, like
Well,
material
some of it might
wise.
be books on
Like I
tape,
said,
and some of it
right.
might some of it might be audiobooks. I read a lot of magazine articles or online articles. Um, and I do a lot of research, but some of my most valuable time is in the car. So it
Right.
might be trying to get my phone to read something to me, or it might be me talking with these various chat bots, and I have them all. I have Gemini, I Chat GPT. I can tell you which ones are awful. They're all pretty bad, um, but they're developing, and you can get a lot of useful information if you want to ask it. Oh, let's talk about quantum physics. Let's talk about on the cellular level. Let's talk about evolution. Let's talk about actual technology. Is there a way to get a laser gun? Is there a way to get a jetpack? All these kind of things I explore with
Right.
chatbots to try and see what the state of the art is, and then I consider it. Sometimes I say, all right, I switch over, to a different app, and now I'm going to be um, dictating some fiction into the app so that I can, email it to myself and then edit it, put it up on the Substack, and then, when it's ready, I present it here to you, and I go, hey, I came up with this idea. We got the sentients. They live in a dome. There was four founders. They all had a falling out. The whole idea was to extend life and explore longevity on the scientific level, blah blah blah. So all that's going on, but we are using it. We've already been using it. We didn't call it AI when we were using it, but like a calculator, that's AI, right? Or a computer, it's all AI, but the question is it actually doing human things like learning, adapting, making our lives easier, as opposed to just making a bunch of money. And I'm gonna go over this podcast again because I heard when I was at school, so you only hear stuff on my lunch when I'm in drips and drabs, and I wanted to hear this guy's argument because I've heard it before from, for example, the CEO of Signal, who is this really you know, like a socially conscious woman that knows the tech space very well, obviously, and she was trying to say the same things. There's just no revenue. There's no model for revenue right now for AI. It's extremely costly to do, and it's extremely energy intensive, and all these negatives about accuracy, and still building up the library that they're basing all their informations on, and it can do some amazing things now. There's no doubt about that. But the revenue, the return on investment, I think this guy in this podcast, he was citing, all right, if you want to know some companies, he said like Oracle, last year they posted a profit of blah blah blah, and he said Meta posted a profit of blah blah blah, but that was only based on this division, that was not based on that division. And he said if you look carefully, the AI is not making any money, and the argument goes from there. And I don't want to misrepresent it. People should hear it for themselves. Maybe we could link it in the chat, but again, it was this.
Well, no, you can put it in comments. Always, Jake, you can always put links in the comments of said episodes. So, like, that's, I think, a really important move, especially keeping people.
Will it do a?
I will probably receive a notification that somebody tried to post a link. Do you want to allow it? I have to double check whether I have the parameters that way, but we'll make it happen. Just give me a heads up that you're doing it. That's
all right. Well, I'm just putting a comment in with the YouTube link, and the guy's name is Joe Stein Haig. I'm butchering the pronunciation, but wait. Oh yes, I'm looking at their comments, not our comments. Oh wait, I think I commented it on their thing. I just comment. Okay, here we go. I'm commenting it. So this is Joe Stein Haig on,
and it's a YouTube video, right?
Yeah, but it's a daily, it's a 5 day a week.
Yeah. They're gonna let it happen. They're gonna let it happen. They want you to stay on YouTube. So if you put a comment to another YouTube, that's gold.
Right.
You're making them money, baby. They're not gonna stop that.
Right. So Joe Stein Haig on AI bubble bursting now, and everybody knows when you go on to the show, you're gonna have to scrub ahead forward to 30 minutes into the show when the actual guest is on. Otherwise, you're gonna hear all the other news and comments of that show. But yeah, all that stuff is figure outable. So I'm just importing page 5 now, and
perfect timing, Jake, because for 10 minutes from 3 hours, and I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah, I know. First, gotta have a sandwich before long.
Yeah, I had a little snack there. I turned my mic off and nibbled on something, but yeah, my day just runs accordingly towards the 2 and 3 o'clock hour. For 2 o'clock for meals, and then I work till 5 o'clock on finishing up stuff. One of those things I want to finish up is the interview with Jeff Lafferty. That's going to be up tomorrow, if not Tuesday. We have more interviews starting next week. Yep. Ian Cinco will be on. Literally the last person we met at IC3 this 2025. Looking forward to that. The following 5th of October, we have got Zombie Date Night Steve Arena, which I just met at SPX 2025. He's looking forward to it as well as us. We've got a stack of books that I got that I'm also going to be mailing to you, Jake, so you're in the know for the upcoming interviews. Ro Higashi, one of the people on my list that I didn't connect with at IC3, went down to SPX to specifically connect with about 5 people, and she was with Rick Lopez, and we both have copies of her comic, which, by the way, is available, I believe, on Power Pulp Comics. Is that correct, Matt? If you're still there, but she's the 12th of October.
She was one of the original, I think.
Right. Or we have then 2 more, which I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Corinne Halbert. She's probably who I'm thinking about. I don't know if Ro is on there yet. I know she's printed by.
That one was on.
Yeah, shout out to Cosmic Lion Production, Eli Schwab, which I also got to connect with down at SPX. But yeah, Corinne Halbert, totally looking forward to this. Actually got a copy of her Acid Nun. And then an individual
she was not on. She was not on there. That second name was, but the first name was
Corinne.
The row.
Yeah, Corinne. Yeah. So Jeff Bertrand, I was able to meet with him, do the exchange. You have a copy of his, but you also have copies of his. I have issues 1 and 4 of Chance Priest's Warriors of the Universe. You have 2 and 3. Just some amazing work. So long time overdue. We'll be reaching out to him this week as soon as I get Corinne scheduled. But we have some great interviews coming. Other than that, and then Jeff is also going to shed light on this. I don't even know if it's considered power comic. It's an absolute autobiographical gem that our good friend Dan Snoke turned me on to and gave me a copy, but I ended up actually purchasing another copy just to keep support of just an incredible initiative on Hondo, him and his partner, in getting this out there. But other than that, Jake, what an amazing day. Can't thank those in the chat and those who stayed with us. Ro is not with the Power Pulp. That's what Matt just said. Yep, she's Cosmic Lion. Ro's with the that looks great. So awesome. Yeah, so I am so happy that we got this far on today. You're on page 5, which is great. We've got
starting to crash out now.
Yeah. It's totally lame. But take us out, Jake. Let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they choose.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Next time we'll go over all these great pencil pages. We got 24 pencil pages for Turbo Pit Fighter number 2. So we'll do a quick flip through of that next time. Thanks for watching. You can see our other channels. We got the Comics That Influence, where we do flip throughs, and we have the Indie Creator Exchange, and of course, what you're watching now, the Making of Turbo Pit Fighter, post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic. We'll be back in your ears next Sunday around 10 a.m. Eastern time. So, join us if you're drawing along, or you're hanging out, or you're eating breakfast, or whatever, and or picking your toes, or whatever you're doing. But we'll just be here hanging out at Jake's, and feel free to join us. So we'll see.
And by the way, I'm a couple issues away from having to do a reprint of the second reprint because we've been selling a lot of copies, and I just want to thank all those people.
You could have got you a deeper.
I'm okay. It's okay. I just wanted. I didn't know if I was really going to enjoy Mixum's print quality, if it was going to align with me or not. It was my decision. It's all right. You're not having to pay for any of it yet.
No, but if I reprint mine, I'm gonna get like 50 because
okay, that'll be the next print run, because you can get them on CrimeTheBarbarian.com, and I also believe I put it on KurtBruegel.com, so they are available. This is super awesome. But yeah, Jake, I will see you next Sunday.
All right, pal. See you in the funny papers.